You're right there, guys. So welcome to part 2 of the basic weather app in Flutter series. In this video, we're going to be actually pulling data from a weather API. So the API that we're going to use is Open Weather Map, because this is the easiest way to get accurate weather information, and there's also a free version with some obvious limitations, but it's good enough and pretty generous to get started with. I also apologize for any background noise. It's pretty windy today, but I'm hoping it doesn't come through the mic. Please subscribe, as that will help this channel grow, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is go to openweathermap.org/price, and this is going to show you the pricing for the API. As you can see, we've got a free version with 60 calls per minute and 1 million calls per month, and you can click this Get API key. This will do for this video. We don't need to pay for anything, so let's click this button here. It's going to take you to a sign up page. I've already signed up, so I'm not going to sign up again. I'm just going to sign in at the top right and enter my credentials. Once you've signed in, it's going to take you to this page. All we're going to do is click this API keys, and you can see that we've got some API keys here. You're probably not going to have my key. You're probably going to have a default key, and this key will work. But if you want to go ahead and create a new one, all you got to do in here is type a API key name, generate, and this may take like an hour or so to actually get in the system, but once it's in the system, you can go ahead and use it. Next, we want to go to API, and we want the current weather data, so I'm going to click API doc, and here you can see a bunch of information. You can get the weather information by city name, by the city ID, by the geographic coordinations, and the zip code, etc. Next, we need to navigate to this website. It's pub.dev/packages/http, and this is a Flutter package that we can use to send a request and await some data from that. So this is what we're going to use to get the weather information. So let's click on installing. And you can see here we've got dependencies. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go to Visual Studio Code, and then we're going to go to pubspec.yaml, and where dependencies, we're just going to paste that in there like so, and make sure you save that file. Next, I'm going to open up a new terminal. I'm going to type flutter pub get, and this is just going to get the packages for us. Now let's go to that website one more time. So I'm just going to switch to browser view, and at the bottom where it says import package, you just want to copy this, and let's go back to our code, and then let's go to main.dart, and at the top we're just going to import it as HTTP. And while we're at it, let's import two more things. The first one is Dart async, and then the second one is Dart convert, like so. Now that we've imported everything we need, we can go ahead and create a future. So a future is used to represent a potential value that will be available to us sometime in the future. So this basically means that we can use a future to get a response, like the weather information, and then we can use that response data later on when we actually need it. So let's go ahead and create it right now. So we're going to type future, and then weather info. This is a class that we haven't created yet, so you're going to get a error message, but don't worry about this too much. And then we're going to say, we're going to call this fetch weather. It's going to be async, if I can spell it right. All right. We're going to create some variables. So the first one is going to be a final. This is going to be zip code, because I'm going to use a zip code to get the weather information. And then final API key. And then final request URL, like so. We're going to assign some values to these. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to our web browser, and then we're going to go to the weather API, and I'm going to select by zip code, and I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it in the URL, And you can see obviously invalid API key because we need to pass that information in. So let's go back to the API website. Let's go to my API keys. And I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to paste it in here for the API key. You can see app ID. That is your API key. All right. For the country code, I'm just going to put US. And then I'm going to replace this zip code. So zip is equal to. And then I'm just going to paste a random zip code in like that. And let's just press enter. And there you can see we've got the weather information for that location. Perfect. So while I'm at it, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this URL. And then we're going to go back to our code. And then for the request URL, we're going to assign the URL to it. So don't forget the quotations. And then I'm going to copy this zip code. And then I'm going to assign it to the zip code variable. And again, don't forget the quotations. And then for the app ID, same again for the API key, like so. And now we're just going to remove the hard-coded values with $ and then 2 curly braces. And let's put zip code. This is just going to append this variable onto this string here. And then same with the app ID, $ and then 2 curly braces, app key, like so. Now we're going to type final response. This is going to be equal to await HTTP right here dot get URI dot parse, and then we're just going to pass in the request URL. Now we're going to do an if else statement. So if response.status code is equal to 200, meaning that we've got the OK status code, then we're just going to return weather info. Again, you're going to get an error because we've not created this class, so don't worry about it. Dot from JSON, and then JSON decode the response.body, like so. Or we're going to throw an exception, error loading the request URL info, and that's pretty much it for the future method. Now let's go ahead and create the weather info class. So this may look a little confusing, but what this is essentially going to do is assign the JSON data from the response that we're going to get to the correct values so we can use them values in our widgets. Again, this may look a little confusing, but just follow my lead. Alright, so we're going to type class weather info, which is here. And then we're going to create some variables at the top. You're right there guys, it's me. Just a quick one. When creating these variables, just make sure you leave these data types out. The reason for this is that we don't know what response we're going to get and we don't know what the data types are going to be. So for example, in this video, we're going to create a variable called location. And we're going to create that by typing final string location. String is the data type. So instead, we're going to type final location. So we're just getting rid of the data type string. And then same for temp. It's going to be final temp instead of final double temp. All right. And the first one is going to be a final string location. The second one is going to be a final double temp. Then a final double temp min. Oops. Then a final double temp max. A final string weather. A final int humidity. And then the last one is a final double wind speed, like so. Okay, we're going to create a constructor. So weather info. I'm going to put this on the next line down. Now we need to type at required this dot location, and basically we've got to do the same for all these variables. At required this dot temp, at required this dot temp min, required this dot temp max, and then at required this dot weather. Let's clean that up. At required this dot humidity, and then the last one required this dot wind speed. Perfect. If we go back to our weather information, obviously here we've got data that we can use. So we want to get the description, we want to get the temp min, temp max, we want the temperature, the wind speed, the humidity, and then the name, which is our location. So to access, for example, this description here, in JSON we'd select the weather, then 0, then the description. That might sound confusing, but I'm going to show you how to do that in code right now. Now this is the part that may look a little confusing, but again, what it's basically doing is getting the JSON data, and it's assigning that JSON data to all of these values so we can use these values in our widgets. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and create the factory constructor. So we're going to type factory weather info, which is the class name, and then dot from JSON. You may remember using that up here. This is what we're creating right now. Map string comma dynamic JSON, and then 2 curly braces, and then we're just going to return weather info, put that on a new line, and now we just need to assign some JSON data to these values. So we're going to do this for everyone. So location is equal to, not equal to, is going to be set to JSON name, then the temp is JSON main temp, the temp min is JSON main temp min. Same for the max, JSON main temp max. Then the weather is going to be JSON weather 0. I'm just gonna, after this, I'm gonna give you an example on what exactly I'm doing here. So just bear with me. And this is going to be description, and then the humidity, JSON main humidity, and then the last one is going to be the wind speed, JSON wind, and then speed. So, for example, if I want the weather description, you can see that this is nesting. So we've got we're selecting weather, then 0, then 0, then the description. So let's go back to our browser, and let's find weather, which is here, and then 0 is nested in weather, and then we can select the description. So that's all we're doing. Let's go back to our code. And now we can actually start splitting our widgets up. Now let's go ahead and scroll down to underscore my app. Let's create a future, and this is going to be weather info, and then we're going to call this future weather. Now we need to create a init state method, and this is going to assign the fetch weather method to this future weather. So override void init state, and then we're going to type super dot init state. Just ignore that. We're going to type future weather is equal to fetch weather. Now what we're about to do may seem a little bit scary, but don't worry. Let's scroll down and we're just going to select this column and we're going to cut it by Control X. I'm going to create a new file and just paste it in there for the time being. You don't need to save it, but save it if you want, just to make sure it doesn't get deleted or anything. And let's go back and then we're going to replace it with a future builder. This is going to be weather info. We're going to set the future to this future weather. And then we're going to set the builder. Excuse me. And we're going to pass in a context and a snapshot, like so. Now, we're going to type if, else. So if snapshot dot has data, meaning it's got data, then we'll put something in there. Otherwise, in fact, this is going to be an else if. Otherwise, if snapshot dot as error, then we're going to do something inside here. I know this video is getting a little bit long, but I promise you we're nearly finished. We're just going to do a few more things, like we're going to create one more widget, and we're going to return this column and just change these to dynamic values. Let's just return center. So if there's an error, then we're just going to return center. We're going to set a child to text, and then we're going to set that text to the error message, which is snapshot.error, like so. Okay. Next thing we need to do, we need to go ahead and go to widgets. We're going to create a new file, and this is going to be called main_widget.dart. Press enter. Then we're going to import package flutter /material.dart, and we also need to go back to main.dart, go all the way to the top, and we need to copy this or cut it out, this weather tile, cut that out, and then we're going to paste it inside here like so. But let's remove the widgets folder because it's not finding it. Alright. Next, we need to create a class of main widget. This is going to extend a stateless widget, like so. Alright. Spell that right. And we're going to need to create some variables at the top. Again, I know this seems a little repetitive, but there's nothing we can do about this. Final location, final double temp, final double temp min, final double temp max, final string, weather, spell that right, and then the final int humidity, and then the last one is a final double wind speed. Alright, next we need to go ahead and create a constructor. So main widget, add some curly braces to that, and we're also going to put that on a new line, and we're just going to require absolutely everything. So we're going to require this dot location, that required this dot temp, that required this dot temp min, this dot temp max, that required this dot weather, that required this dot humidity, Then the last one required this dot wind speed. All right, let's go ahead and create our widget build method. Override widget build. Got to pass in a build context. And then we're just going to return, and then we can go back to our file, the column, remember? We're just going to select it all, copy, and then we're just going to paste that in there, and I'm going to fix this indentation. And don't forget a semicolon at the end. And now what we can do is replace these values. This is going to be easy for us because, again, we've already created some variables that we can use, and all we're going to do is just replace these hard-coded values. So for the location, I'm just going to remove location, add a $, and then 2 curly braces, and then we want the location dot to string. We're going to do everything to a string just in case something's a double and you can't have a double inside a string. So we're just going to be on the safe side. And we're going to replace this temperature with $, 2 curly braces, and then we want the temp dot to int. This is going to convert it into an integer instead of a double, and then to string. And then we can replace these values the same. Temp min. In fact, this is going to be temp max dot to int. And then dot to string, and then same again for the low of $, curly braces, and then temp min dot to int, and then dot to string. Oops, I've spelled that wrong. All right, let's go back down to the bottom. I'm going to replace the temperature with $, curly braces. This is going to be temp dot to int, and then dot to string. Again, we're converting everything to a string just to be on the safe side, otherwise it's going to give us an error. Let's change the weather. $, curly braces. This is going to be weather dot to string. And then the next one is the humidity. So let's replace this with $, curly braces, and humidity dot to string. This isn't a double, so we're good there. Let's replace this wind speed, which is the last one. Wind speed dot to int, because it's a double, dot to string, like so. Add a curly brace and then miles per hour. Perfect. I know that we've covered a lot of things in this video, and I do apologize if it comes out a little bit confusing, but I'm going to try my best to explain what's going on right now. So we created a main widget which returns a column, and because it's a class, we can pass in some information. So we can pass in the location, the temperature, the temp max, and with that information we can add that to our widgets. So we can get the location, we can add the location inside there, etc. But we need to go to main.dart, and we need to go ahead and import the widget that we've just created, which is widgets / main widgets. Main widget. Now we can return this main widget widget in our future builder, and we can pass data into the widget. So if we go back, you can see this is the data that we're going to be passing through. So let's go back to main.dart, and here, if snapshot has data, all we're going to do, we've got to return main widget, and it's going to require a lot of things. So I'm just going to remove all this. I'm going to put this on a new line so it's a little bit more cleaner. And so we're going to set the data. So location, this is going to be the snapshot dot data dot location, and I'm just going to copy this here so I don't have to write that out all the time. And then comma, the temp is going to be snapshot dot data dot temp. Then the next one is going to be temp min. Paste that there. Dot min. Sorry, temp min. Then for the temp max, snapshot.data.temp max. The weather is going to be snapshot.data.weather. And then the humidity is going to be snapshot.data.humidity. Then the last one is the wind speed, is snapshot.data.windspeed. Now we can go ahead and give this a run on our device. Obviously, you can see we've got an error message and bad state, insecure HTTP is not allowed by the platform. Now we need to fix this, but while we're at it, we're going to add two things into the Android manifest file. So let's go back to our code, and for Android, we need to go to Android, app, source, main, and then Android manifest. Let's go to the top, and we're going to paste this here. This user's permissions, and this is the Android internet permission. And we also need to paste in one more thing, and this is going to fix the issue on our device, that error message. So under application, we're going to paste this in here. Users clear text traffic equal to true. I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure what this does, but it definitely fixes the issue we've got. And I'm literally going to do two small little things, and I'm going to go back to main.dart. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, and in the request URL, after US, I'm going to type a and sign, units is equal to imperial. And then just make sure you've got a @ sign before the app ID. And one more thing, let's go down to the bottom. And after this else if statement, we're just going to return a circular progress indicator, like so. So let's go back to our device, let's restart it, and there we go. That's fixed our issue, and our app is now fully working. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I do apologize if this video was kind of all over the place. I'm really trying with this YouTube thing. I'll admit, you know, I'm still learning this whole video editing and stuff, so it's kind of all over the place, but I'm trying my best, and I do appreciate all the feedback you give me. So if I could improve on something, please let me know in the comments down below, and please subscribe if you're not already, because that will help this channel grow, and it will help me to get motivated to produce more future content. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.